And if you were to give advice to those leaders, I guess in both cases, but especially for the privately held ones, because they really might be able to drive change, like how would you advise them around the stuff we've been talking about?
It's hard because I get the same sense that you do for my friends who work at the bigger privately held companies and even the smaller ones that there is still, and I guess not still, there is a passion there that is allowed to thrive that sometimes gets stifled when you're talking about working in the public sphere and in a public market. And I think that the beauty of passion is that we all who have worked in games or who want to work in games deeply understand what that means, right? Like, we know why we got into making games. For me, I grew up playing video games actually with my mom. Like,
Hmm.
I'm an only child. It was like the most fun. It was the way I socialized. It was like a big part of my identity as a young girl and now, as an adult has been centered around games and the experiences I had and the narratives and just everything about it. And when you say that to someone else who works in the space, they understand that. That's why we do it. Like,
Hmm.
the passion tax is a joke for a reason, right? Because all of us are willing to do these things that are so hard, to do the live operations that is grueling and never ending, to go through betas and go through launches and like put your heart and soul on the line sometimes to fans that don't like what you did because we're passionate about it, because we care. And so I think that the good news for all of gamers in the industry and game dev is that that passion has been so far impossible to kill from what I've seen
Hmm.
through downturns, through layoffs, through uncertainty, through everything, because all of us have a very personal reason and a very deep reason for why we do what we do. And it's really, really hard to kill that passion. Not that you should try to.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
arguing the opposite.
Yeah.
But I think the good news is that that still exists. And it is going to be hard to kill, regardless of what happens, regardless of hiring practices, regardless if we're doing the right things by our leaders and by our juniors and by anything and everything and all of the above. Because at the end of the day, we all know why we're doing it, and it's usually very personal. And then we all come together as well. Like, I know what it feels like to be on live ops with my fellow engineers and like that time spent where like, I hate to be corny because I worked on a military-esque game, but like it felt like you're in the trenches together. You are
Hmm.
fighting a battle together. You know who you can rely on. And like we all understand that camaraderie like viscerally. The people you can call at 2 a.m. when like shit has hit the fan, right? And that they'll be there and have your back and that you'll do the same for them. And so I think that that spirit for all of us is what makes games continue to get made. Why we still have such awesome narratives. We still have so many creatives. We still have so many amazing things coming out of the industry.
Hmm.
Because despite I think all of these external pressures and mistakes and all of the missteps, all of the hardships, there still is awesome stuff happening in the game industry and it's cuz people care. And it's going to be hard to get them to stop. And so I'd say like to all leaders, if you're doing this and you're stoking those passions, like good on you.
Hmm.
Let people continue to do what they're passionate about and have some compassion towards them as well, right? Like, you don't want to lay off your entire QA team because you got AI. You just want to make them better. Like, don't make people's lives harder. Like, they're here for you fighting every day. Like,
Hmm.
step up for them and protect them. And then to the people who are fighting against the shareholders and having to be very short-sighted and whatever because they need to make money and they need to get in the next earnings call and have a good story. Like, don't forget that the people that you're truly representing aren't just your shareholders, it's all the people that work for you, who
Hmm.
look up to you and who are here because they give a shit. Because there are so many industries where your employees will not care.
Yeah.
This is one of the few where people care deeply and don't take that for granted.
Ah, I love that. I love that. Um, all right, I want to jump over to that aside. Uh, we we've talked about the lack of hiring of juniors, and that's so multifaceted. There's COVID, remote, a lot more talent coming in. There's AI, all these different things. I know some people, and obviously they've been very vocal on LinkedIn. You see one of these posts every day, or you did for a little bit. Like, I just laid off all my juniors. I'm not hiring anything but seniors and supporting them with AI, and that's how I'm going to be. And so there's some people who believe that the right thing to do is to hire nothing but senior people. My experience in game dev is that every time a major studio or publisher has tried to assemble nothing but the best into a team, we'll take nothing but our most senior seniors and we'll pull them all together, that thing has been a failure. Um, yeah. And I think this is the counterpoint perhaps in a different way because I can make an argument. I understand the financial argument for the senior. Basically, pay goes up more logarithmically in most crafts, while output does go up somewhat exponentially. So I tend to have to pay engineers a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. But to your point, like a really good senior engineer architect is worth a lot of junior mid-level engineers in terms of just how much impact they can have on the health of the code, the effectiveness of the code. Um, that part. So if I look at it like again, pure sort of financial numbers ROI thing, it's like, okay, I understand why I want to have fewer of these very high-powered individuals. And yet, when we bring all those high-powered individuals together, which again, I've seen attempted multiple times in multiple studios, they don't tend to make the best game, which is what they're supposed to do. We've got all the best people together. Why don't they make the best game? And so I want to talk about like the value of juniors besides just like, well, they're cheaper or, well, someday I want them to become a senior. And I'm curious your take on that because I have a friend, I have a great leader I know, and he has said for years, I'm not fully on him with this, I'm somewhere in the middle, but he said like I would take a full team of like juniors fresh out of college who were just so hungry and so passionate to go try to build something, then you give me all the veterans who've been doing it for 20 years and are set in their ways. I would just so much prefer to work with that other team with the juniors because I think we'd be more likely to make something amazing, even if we made a bunch of stupid mistakes along the way. So again, I'm not quite there, but that perspective also exists. I don't think it gets much airtime. I think it probably should get more. I'm somewhere in the middle because I've seen experts pull off some amazing things and save projects that I just don't think a junior team would have been able to do. But there's my spiel. Why should people hire juniors? Hey, leaders and game devs, if you love what we do here at Building Better Games, imagine what we could create with your support. By joining our Patreon, you help us bring deeper insights, develop better training, and host more expert discussions to level up your leadership and game development skills. Plus, as a patron, you're going to get exclusive behind-the-scenes content, early access to episodes, and a chance to ask your burning questions directly to us. Join now and help us build better games together.
I think the answer is so obvious when you think about any experience you've had explaining something to somebody else, whether they're a junior or whatever, right? If you're trying to explain to someone your great grandmother's cookie recipe, right? Like it's just something real, who cares? Something trivial. The best way to learn and the best way to ask questions about, wait, why do we do it this way, is to have to show somebody else and then have them try to do it and see what happens. Then you might have them pick up the cookie recipe and they forget something. They forget the baking soda or something, and you realize, oh, that's because it was written here or written like this and it wasn't very clear. So let's actually modify this process so that that mistake doesn't get made again. Because having fresh eyes look at something is so valuable. And I see that even now, right? Like I've moved into this new space where I'm actually helping have the conversations from the vendor perspective about why you should use Databricks for your game dev data and AI needs, right? What we can bring to the table. And I'm having to look at all of the existing processes that we have, a lot of which are amazing and very good, but I'm asking questions like someone who doesn't know what they're doing because I don't. And that illuminates a lot of things that maybe weren't thought about or maybe were taken for granted. Because when you get entrenched into a problem space, you really kind of lack the ability to have that set of fresh eyes and that set of, just the way you think about something differently. And I think with junior engineers, you get exactly that. You test your processes to make sure that they are robust, that they make sense, that what you're doing is actually like worthwhile. Like, did you accidentally add a whole bunch of bureaucracy you don't need? I can't imagine anyone at any game studio being mad about being told that something they do is unnecessarily bureaucratic and needs to be changed. Because we all experience those things, but sometimes it takes a newbie coming through to really highlight, like, oh, that's dumb. Why do we do that? And those are net wins for people. And that's just one example. That stuff happens everywhere, and setting up a new code environment for a newbie, like they could figure out something that's maybe faster, makes more sense, or like we've been doing it this way for so long because this is how we do it. And I have in mind a couple of game studios that I very much think of when I think of this. And I'm not going to say who, but there are a couple studios when I think of that dream team of senior engineers that you're talking about coming together, and I think about what they look like, and I think about the games that they're not putting out, the waves that they're not making anymore. When you used to be a legacy powerhouse,